Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm delighted to say Alan Ruff and Tam Cowan are with me, Peter Martin, on this Thursday. If you do get a chance, hit the subscribe button. The great thing about PLZ Soccer, it's 24/7. You've got lots of other content you can choose, and if you download the PLZ Soccer app, you get all the breaking football news. But the good thing about this programme is, as we say every day, not only can you interact with us live on the YouTube feed, you can chat to other people who are there, and it's absolutely free. There's no cost whatsoever. So hopefully you'll appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button and join us. And join us talking about something in a positive sense, because sometimes, Ruffy, I think we can all get bogged down with the negativity of it all. But you, me and Tam today can talk about a marvellous 3-0 win for Scotland.
Yeah, and anybody who was watching or listening yesterday would have seen that I was on, not a wee bit of a downer, but you know, not really up for the game because we disappointedly not qualified for the finals of the World Cup and had been on a couple of losing runs. So last night, yep, fantastic. I thought it was great performance, a great attacking performance, which I don't usually tend to say. It used to, I think the manager usually against the better side sets out his stall not to lose the game, foremost than anything. But I thought last night he ripped that up and he said, look, we're at home, let's go and have a go. And certainly we got the payoff for it.
Yeah, I want to get everybody who wants to comment on the performance, by all means, do so. Lee Shanley joins us. Brian Spence says good morning from Calgary. Not a bad place to be. Also, we've got lots of people coming in. Robert from Dublin. Anne Wood says afternoon. Hugh says afternoon, Peter, Ruffy and Tam. Brilliant result and performance from Scotland last night. John Puska, I hope I pronounced that correctly, says morning to the PLZ family. And the source, who's in the Shankill in Belfast, has joined us, as well as so many others. Stuart Ramsey, who's a regular. Thank you to each and every one. I'll try and mention as many as possible. Anne says Scotland were brilliant. Stuart Ramsey, good game from Scotland. Tam, it was superb, wasn't it?
Well, how can Andy Robertson get back in the team? You need to ask yourself that. You know, I don't know a thing about tactics in football, but it looked, certainly the game I was watching at the back four, worked a treat. You know, I think by and large we snuffed out the Ukrainians. They did have a few chances, obviously. Gives you the confidence when you still get Craig Gordon there behind the back four. But yeah, on attacking we were brilliant. And you know what, that could have so easily last night, Peter, have been dead flat, you know, because we know that we did have the chance to get to the World Cup, know that long ago. You know, it could have been, I thought it was a smashing attendance. I don't know what it was officially. I don't think I necessarily expected that. But it seemed that everybody was up for the cup, and yeah, I would have taken a 0-0 and thought that was a great performance, you know. That gives us something to build on. But to get the 3 goals was great, and you know, Stevie Clark must think summed up here likes him, because everything that he did just turned out fine. Particularly substitutions, it went great as well. It was just great, aye. But again, classic Scotland. You think, why did we not do that in the summer? It's, you know. I know Wales could have pumped us, you know, and that almost certainly would have happened, because that's what happens when you're a Scotland fan. But it'd have been great, you know. But we weren't at the races that particular night. Yeah. But last night, you know, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, He's just not to talk about it. Nobody to slaughter.
I was just about to say.
We've got
something. Calm down.
Lyndon Dykes tattoos.
Yeah, we've got. There
could have been any mothers, but I know my wife certainly watching a bit of it last night. She went, that's disgusting.
You don't like tattoos?
No, but that guy's going to be, hopefully, he's a fit young sportsman.
Yes.
See, imagine, look at Ruffy the fine Nick he's, and you imagine he's going to see you at a good age. But he's not wanting to sit down at Saltcoats Beach, is he, with all that, you know? It's going to be terrifying.
To be fair, if Lyndon Dykes, who has got a really strong Australian connection, is sitting at Saltcoats Beach at Ruffy's age at 70, he'll be doing well. Anyway, you know, lots to talk about in the positive sense. I think it's only right and proper we do that. But
challenge somebody. I know I like a wee challenge. Challenge somebody that's tuned in to find a negative.
Oh, Tam, I've got to.
I was tongue in cheek.
No, I've got to, because I know for a fact they'll steam in once we mention it. But let's stick to the positives first of all, which was, of course, Steve Clark did say that he knew the goals were coming. Really?
I think not really. I think when you're on the bench or when you're on the side of the pitch and you're watching and you know your team's creating chances, you know your team's got good forward momentum, you're just waiting. You're actually expecting one of them to go in, because you're creating so many good chances that you believe in your players and you trust them to get the goal, and that's what happened.
Wow, I love his confidence. He just knew they were coming. I'll tell you one thing, Ruffy. I mean, there was two things in the first half, and I wonder your take on this as well, Tam. But two things. Obviously, the blow with Nathan Patterson for me, for a boy that was just, he's been great, and he's starting to win over the Everton fans. So I was gutted at him going off. And the second part of it is it Badner? Is it a red card? Is it a yellow? Did they get it right when he took out Shea Adams?
It's a hard one. You think at that level, that they're more serious than what they are at our level. So I would have thought maybe a red. At UEFA, FIFA rules or whatever you call it, they tend to go a wee bit over the board than what we do.
The saving grace, Tam, was the player coming back, so he would have caught it. So it wasn't an out and out goal scoring opportunity where there was nobody else involved. There could have been another player there. The one thing that worried me about it was the force that he hit him with, and it looked as if he caught him in the face as well.
It was incredible. It was like calling an assault. It was a really, really bad game. You really felt it. Even when you're sitting watching it in the telly, and you're right, perhaps by the letter of the law, the referee is experienced. He didn't just pluck him for schools football son or for an amateur league. He knew there was a covering player, and that's why the boy remained on the pitch, but they did have, I think they kept saying last night, I don't think it was used at any point, but they did have VAR, of course. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, was it used even once last night?
No,
I didn't think so,
No.
Well, there was an occasion where I just think that, when you started seeing it for 2 or 3 different angles, and I'll always say right away, the referee could only see it from one angle in real time, but I'm amazed that he didn't have another look at that, because it was the guy had no intention of getting anywhere near the ball. He just wanted to stop Shea Adams, and I don't even know if the Ukrainian player himself necessarily knew that he did have cover.
Yeah.
And that for me then makes it worse, and makes it a definite straight red, because he just went for the man. He was wanting to wipe it,
Yeah. It was one of those close calls. I know what you're saying, Ruffy. I looked at it and I thought to myself, okay, I can see why he's given the yellow, because the guys get back, but I looked at the force and the way he'd taken him out, and I thought to myself, wow. The other thing that I thought was really positive about it all, and sometimes we can get caught up in this, is the formations, because he went with a 4 at the back. 4-2-3-1 was his formation. And, you wonder, is that the way ahead? Our reporter Adam Binney had a close look at Clark's lineup.
Robertson, Tierney, or both? That has been the question that has dominated discussions around Steve Clarke's team selection ever since he took the Scotland job. Clarke's answer was both. He got around this by using his flexible 3-4-1-2 formation that helped to deliver Scotland's first international major tournament qualification since 1998. However, in last night's 3-0 victory over Ukraine, Clarke reverted back to the 4-2-3-1 formation that he used in his early tenure as Scotland boss. As Scotland manager, Steve Clarke has lined up with a back 3 on 28 occasions and a back 4 just 10 times. He has won 50% of the matches he has opted for a back 3 and 60% of the matches in which he has gone for a back 4. The back 3 allows Clarke to fit in 2 key players, Robertson and Tierney, whose both favoured position is at left back. However, it has been argued that the back 4 allows for more freedom for stand-in captain John McGinn in the number 10 position. It's 2 wins on the trot with the back 4, but will Steve Clarke go back to his trusted 3-4-1-2 formation when captain Andy Robertson returns to the squad? Is it now a case of one or the other between him and Tierney, or can they both somehow be accommodated in the new look 4-2-3-1 Scotland side?
I don't know, it's got such a big dilemma, Ruffy, because obviously Patterson moved out and then you've got Hickey. When Andy Robertson comes back, he's got a dilemma, but I think for the weekend, with Hickey coming in, I think he'll stick with the same, because you know what he's like, he's tremendously loyal.
Yeah, I like to see us playing players in their best positions. I hate seeing players moved into a position, and Kieran Tierney's one example. I'm not disputing he can't play in a back 3, but for me, Kieran Tierney's strength is a full back charging forward, at any time he likes, and then people cover back for him. I think that's his strength. I never ever thought McTominay was a back 3 player either. He's a midfield player. He's a certain midfield player, and you saw it last night. He's grown with his stature. We're playing in the Man United first team in that position, and I thought he was another one playing in the strength that he has at club level. So And Patterson gets forward, and you've got, if you're playing McGinn in there, as it proved again last night, you've got to people run about him who's going to allow him to get in that 18-yard box, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, Hickey can play either foot, to be fair to the boy, so he came on and had a good game. But I don't know you, Tam, but I'm not being in any way biased about it. McGregor just makes the whole thing, he just links everything together. I thought he was outstanding.
He's a brilliant player, but going back to the defence first up, I mean, Stevie Clark, of course, did as good as admit that he could only play the guys that he had last night. You know, he did a bit of a shortage of personnel, so his hand was forced a wee bit.
Yeah. And
as it turns out, though, it worked out very, very well. But now, of course, he's got the big dilemma going into the game against the Republic of Ireland, and because it did feel that the substitutions made all the difference, of course, you know. So what lineup does he go with? Does he start with the same boys again, or does he introduce some of the guys that come on?
What do you think?
Interesting. I would give the guys another go and know that you've got the boys that can come off the bench, you know.
Yeah, because of the guys that he obviously started with, Hickey had to come on, which was a blow. Not for seeing Hickey on, but just Patterson, and then Fraser, Dykes, McLean, and Taylor. Ryan Fraser just absolutely. Listen, I'm delighted he's back. I'm absolutely gobsmacked though, when you consider, you know, I think we wanted him shipped out to China because of his antics of not making himself available. Ruffy and I are old school on that. You know, you make yourself available until the manager tells you you can't play, but who cares? We're in a positive mood. Hugh says, Peter, I've been very critical of Scott McKenna in the past, but I thought he was excellent. Hi to Neil, who's in Vietnam. Gordon Herriot's in Thailand. Bert Chrysler put something up that I think, you know, sometimes we've got to be aware of. He says, great stuff. We beat an understrength Ukraine when it didn't really matter. So there's somebody who's managed to, is a thinly veiled compliment, but a real negative.
But it did matter. It's very easy to say that, you know. We're still all hurting a wee bit for the summer, but once you get the scientists on to have a full look at these league tables and the Nations League and how it exactly works, then it was definitely worthwhile last night. It was a big result, and you know, we're already thinking, you know, good chance of getting to the next Euros, but still a sore one that we're not going to Qatar, but there you have it.
Yeah, listen, we can only deal with what we've got in front of us, Ruffy, and that's quite simply a situation where we got a good result. To the goals, I think it's a great compliment when you're, you know, I heard every reporter desperate to ask John McGinn, you know, Kenny's in the stand. What's it like? You know, your compliment is you get the back end of Kenny Dalglish.
You know what, I thought he was brilliant about that. He was very, very humble. He said, I'm not even in his league. I think in terms of a reaction to the game, in terms of somebody speaking very well, the only guy that I heard even better, maybe, and I don't know if you watched the highlights after seeing the main game, but Stephen O'Donnell was on the sports scene couch with Neil McCrann, and Stephen O'Donnell, you know, he's clearly a guy that's not got a big hit for himself, which is refreshing, but he said that Stevie Clark, he reckons he's just got to kind of keep that kind of team together and keep playing the same personnel. And there's a guy who, without actually doing anything wrong, correct me if I'm mistaken, you know, suddenly he was edged out of the picture a bit, you know. So
I don't think Graham Alexander helped him all that much.
No, absolutely. But so good on Stephen O'Donnell for saying that. But absolutely, John McGinn, it was a great interview, and it means as well that even for guys like me and you, Peter, there's always that dream that having big fat arses that we could get back into that Scotland team one of these days.
In any other player, it would have been his upper body strength that turned the boy. Yeah. It was his upper backside strength that turned the boy.
He does it so well though, Ruffy, doesn't he?
Yeah, you know what? The amount of goals that wee Dougie Arnott got for Motherwell, by a lot of the same technique. He just knew almost telepathically that Davy Cooper was going to put the ball maybe in the blind side, absolutely bamboozle the defenders, but he would use that low centre of gravity thing and a big bahookie. You know, we've seen it for wee Scott McDonald, great exponent as well. If you know, they say if you've got it, flaunt it, and that's what he did last night.
Yeah, absolutely. 49 caps, he's going to get his 50th at the weekend. It's a tremendous honour for him, and amazingly, Ruffy, when you look at the boy, okay, you know, he kind of just struggled to find his feet and get the assists and the goals in the early part of his Scotland career, but now with 49 caps, scored 14, 6 assists.
No, I don't think he's far away from getting a bigger club. I think the bigger clubs must be looking at him. You know, obviously his team isn't going through a good spell just now, but certainly international wise, leaps and bounds every year on year. You know, if you're looking for your strikers that aren't scoring goals, there's only one guy who's going to come up with it, and that's John McGinn.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think was really good, Tam, and you just touched on it there, you know, for the weekend as well, stick with the players who have produced that superb performance, and then look to the guys coming off the bench. And Dykes, you know, he had 2 touches in the match, 2 headers, and he scores the goals. 2 touches, 2 goals, and he's got 8 goals in 23 games for Scotland now. He's been a revelation.
No, absolutely, but you'd have to say, whoever the boys are sitting in now, and war-torn Ukraine doing their version of this show, they'll be talking about sloppy defending. I mean, that was 2 free headers, you know, and it's normally us that give away goals like that, you know. So, but he was there in the right place at the right time, and again, you heard Ali McCoist shouting as much as he was delighted about the goal, about nobody in the back post, you know what I mean. So, don't think the defending for Ukraine was great, but that'll do him a lot of good as well, because you know, no matter what you say, when the name Lyndon Dykes comes up, if you walked into a pub the night and it was all nice and quiet and serene, there was just boys playing dominoes and you could hear the clock ticking behind the bar, if you wanted to rip the place up a bit, just say, sweet thing about Lyndon Dykes, and then that's that. There's always, you know, there's nobody sits in the fence with Lyndon Dykes, so I think it was great for him last night.
And funnily enough, somebody sent us a message, Tam, which is just as soon as you mentioned it, and I love the fact that you know, can mention certain bars with a certain ambience, you know, of listening to the clock ticking. Nicky says, Peter, I'll say it again, months ago I said John McGinn had the biggest backside in British football. You never ridiculed me, but honest, what a player. I look forward to your comments on Thursday with Tam, who must be sick that the electric bar is shutting down.
It's shutting down?
Well, that's what he says. So
I knew they had a change of direction in recent years, and they have incurred a bit of criticism from old regulars who used to go down there saying they've gone more towards the food side of things now.
Yeah.
And apparently you can't even stand at the bar having a drink, which a lot of folk like doing. But I don't know, that's news to me.
Yeah, well, there you are. We'll need to...
Well, Sheffield Dugs it was last week, I heard. Honestly, I'm quite glad. I mean, the electric bar was one of the places I used to go. The quiz night every Thursday night back in the day.
At what age were you?
What age were you? I would have been about 20, 21.
Was that right, that late?
And then you used to get down there, they did a great Christmas night that a lot of us used to go to. And then latterly, of course, you had tie in with the football and all the rest of it, and that's really a shame.
Yeah, we used to get in there roughly when we were 16. Wow. It's, you know, obviously kind of a slightly breaking the law, holding hands up, but you know that bit when you were desperate to get into a bar with your mates.
Was that far enough away that your parents didn't know where you were? Was that well out of the district?
Exactly,
and it's far enough away, it'd been a Sunday around about 6:30, and that's what my pals in the street did as well. When they wanted to go to the chapel, they said, we're going up for a game of football. And they'd say, aye, but any chance we can play 4 miles away tonight? It was always the same, because if mums and dads had booted in the prowl.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, yeah, used to go there. And obviously, we'd see your crew there as well. There was the Braidhurst crew, and then of course the DL, which is a wee bit a level above the Braidhurst. Is that fair?
Aye, I'd cheer up if you tell me that was shutting down. Get it right up them. I went actually, you know what? It was maybe talking for all the fanning about that today, that some folk might think that you've done no bad with your life, with your career, because I get invited to do the prize giving at DL High School. I'm taking you back maybe 10 years, and I get invited. Lovely letter come in via the BBC, and I thought, yeah, I'll go and do that, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, it was the only time I've been in it, because I went to Braidhurst, and there was a great Mary Street divide for any locals that are tuned into the show. And yeah, you're absolutely right, DL had a great reputation, Braidhurst High, not quite the great reputation, and that's where they wanted to go, right? They was always say Braidhurst was deemed to be very, very rough, right? School magazine had the obituary column, yes, all that part of right. But you wanted to go to DL, so this letter came in, you know, many years later, and I went, oh, well, they must be thinking, aye, Tam's a local guy, and you know, he's got a wee bit of a profile now, we'll get him in for the prize giving. And then it was only after the prize giving, when I was talking to, I think it was the assistant headmistress who had invited me. And when she was chatting to me after it, wee cup of tea and all that, and thank you, that was lovely, that was great, and she started rolling back the years and talking about the school, I'm thinking to myself, she thinks I was at DL. And she thinks, oh, Tam, I hear on the radio and that, no, he must have been a DL boy, if it was Braithurst, he'd be in jail, of course he'd be, And so she clearly thought, and she was all suddenly all embarrassed, There
are some gigs, though, that I look at and I think to myself, well, Tam's got that gig. Maybe me and Ruffy could have had that gig, but that one, as soon as I knew you had it, I thought, that's
great. Did you go to the school?
I was unfortunate that my time, it depended where you went with your IQ test.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I think you had to go over 100.
What was the name of that? There used to be something. It wasn't
Maryhill.
No,
you're 9-11. It was 9-11. It was something.
Well, if you go over 100, you went to North Kelvin side,
right.
or you went to Woodside. And if you never made it, you went to Garrioch.
Yeah. Right. What was Garrioch like?
That was and I remember, you get a letter to take with you, and if you had went to North Kelvin side and went to Woodside, it obviously went good at French, good at languages, good at this maths and all that. And my letter, it said good at woodwork and metalwork.
Right.
All right.
That's what it says, but get him in your team. That was it. There was no education.
He'll win you a few games.
There was no prizes for education.
Right.
So a lot of people
Somebody
really...
will remember, by the way, that's annoying me now.
9/11.
You're like, that's 9/11, that's the bloody Twin Towers. 9/11. What was it? It's like that. It's just 2 digits.
I know. Somebody will tell us.
That's something plus.
11 plus.
It could be that.
That's it. I think it's 11 plus.
Anyway, lots of people complimentary. Jim McKinnon puts a slightly different twist on this when he says, if we do win this group, I think Scotland could be in the same position as Rangers and Celtic in the Champions League, meaning we'll get pumped every game. So, also Henry McLaren, thank you, Henry. I want to thank you because he says, hi Peter, Ruffy and Tam. I've downloaded the app and I love the show. Thanks very much from Harry. Henry, sorry. So Henry, thank you for that, because quite simply a lot of people are downloading the app, and because the whole show's free, there are a number of people who watch it live, and then the majority of people, Ruffy, just watch it at leisure, in the UK and abroad as well.
Yeah, then everybody can't catch it at the right time, so you can catch it any time.
Yeah.
Even after your tea, before you go to your bed, or whatever. And the majority of people that I talk to and listen to, they just, whenever they can catch it.
Yeah, we're getting stopped everywhere. It's slightly different for you, Tam, because you've got such a good profile on the BBC that lots of people, would stop you and know you from off the ball. I think you've got a stronger profile in the radio part of it as well, but you get a bit of...
But the same situation as well now with Disciplinary live broadcasting, and of course everything now goes as a podcast, or everything is listen again or whatever, and we get so many folk. Once upon a time we did, back when you get letters sent in, pre-email even and all that, right, and you get folk writing in for far-flung corners of the globe and saying that, they actually set their alarm to go up and listen because they want to hear Scottish voices and that. But of course all they need to do now is get you on Catch Up or BBC Sounds or whatever you want to call it, and they don't need to get up. I mean, even the boys that were on there now, good on them for Thailand and it was on Bangkok, was it there? I don't even know what time it is out there, of course, but that's brilliant. They're probably an unearthly level just now. But
I think it gives you that wee sense of home. Hopefully I've got a wee bit of banter, good chat for your opinion as well. The reason why I was laughing there, Tam, when you said you used to get letters when we started the first of our television shows on STV.
We got a letter.
Oh, we got a letter.
That was a petition.
Yeah, no. Tam, it was better than that. You would have loved it. I've kept it. It was a belter. It opened up with obviously no name, no address, and just basically I just want to say for you and that other fat F, and he goes, it was so sectarian, and by the time we got to the 2 pages on this notebook of absolutely caning the two of us off, it was brilliant, wasn't it? And he just signed it GSTQ.
All right. Yeah.
So, and honestly, when I do the book, Ruffy, I'm going to put the photograph of it in because it was priceless. And he said at midway through the 3rd paragraph, which we knew there was something wrong. He said, Gordon Smith's the only pundit who talks sense on the programme.
Right.
And the two of us looked at each other and went, yeah, we can live with that later. we can hack
It's
it.
good that Gordon wrote in.
Yeah.
I had one that I used to, in fact, it's still on YouTube. Somebody can get it if you get it to YouTube, and don't know what you'd put in, but my name reading a letter or something. And it was one that an absolute Zoomer sent me, and I got it on the day that I was going to a lunchtime kind of booking thing at one of the, see, down near the Riverboat Casino in Glasgow, across the road, it's all quite big offices,
Yeah, that's right.
plenty of glass and all that. I was in there, some charity thing I work was doing, and would I come and draw the staff raffle or something. But anyhow, I just got this letter. So by way of just a wee laugh at a chuckle at the start, it says, by the way, you know, I just received this. So I read it out, and it was hilarious. The guy like full stops after every word, and it was just like, it was crazy stuff. But honestly, I'd urge him to listen to this to dig it out. It is still on YouTube, but it's just bonkers. You can't, again, one for the book, Peter.
Yeah, you've got to. Will you
do the book?
Will you do a book?
Aye.
I'm going to do a book.
I've kept so much stuff.
But can I just say something to you? If you are going to do the book, don't do it like his. His is, you know, Dorothy opens the door into Oz, and there's all rich
and
coloured
it's all
purples,
lovely,
everybody's
World
lovely,
Cups
and they're all great teammates, and there's nothing of the Ruffy that you and I have known for 20 years. There's just not one story that you think, there's no edge to it. Whereas mine, I'm just going to leather everything. I'm not going to...
Mine will be warts and all.
Are you going to do the warts and all?
In fact, penile warts and all. I'll even go back to the days. I'm everything, honestly.
Yeah, I'm going to absolutely
It's when you've got a good, I don't know, I mean, I've found when folk, I don't know how you're with us, Peter, but when folk, I was doing a thing last week, and so it was only me, so you know what I'm like, so I was enjoying myself, and I was up on my feet for hours, and guys say, how do you, all these stories and that, and as you know, I do have a head full of nonsense,
Yes.
right? So that's quite a good thing. I want to get it all out of there before
Get it down.
I've not got a head full of nonsense,
Yeah,
you know, and it's
absolutely.
hard to recover stuff.
That's the key to it all, is just get it down and make it hard hitting as well, Tam. Don't pull any punches. Here's the group, Ruffy, which I think is fantastic to see. I had a sneaky feeling, I know after the event it's always great when somebody turns around and says, I had a sneaky feeling we were going to get a good result last night, but there was something that said that he had to work out a way to change the way they played against the Ukraine, albeit there were some injured players that Ukraine could not call on. Zinchenko as well, who's a special talent. But that's great to see is at the top there. And we've got Ukraine away coming up next Tuesday, but Republic of Ireland coming up this Saturday at 7:45, roughly. It's a big one. It really is a great chance for it to put us in a really good position.
It's a different style of game for last night, you know. I mean, we know about Republic of Ireland, we know about their players, they know about our players. It's going to be the old-fashioned, you know, British, you know, game, you know. Where,
So who are their star men now? Republic of Ireland?
Well, their star men are basically championship players, aren't they, Peter? Majority of them.
Yeah, there's a few.
They've already beat 3-0 over there.
Yeah, it was a terrible performance by Scotland.
Awful.
I mean, I know you hate me doing this. Ukraine's last two games are us, and who's their other one?
Armenia.
Well, so they'll see that last game against Scotland as the be-all and end-all.
Well, absolutely. We've got to try and get it. If we get a point, I think that's us.
Yes, but we can't take our eye off the Republic Island game because they'll see themselves as well. We've already beat Scotland 3-0. How could we not get if we go over here and get a point, you know, they might think they're still in me a chance. So, yeah, it's important we beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, it really is fantastic. Of course, the other great thing about this, Tam, is, you know, with our performances, we could get promotion to Group A, which means quite simply that we start to play a better calibre of team, country, and then suddenly the SFA has bigger games. We see bigger countries coming to play at Hampden. That's what everybody wants to see.
Yeah,
see
absolutely.
See the big teams.
You know what? I've always been a firm Hampden backer. Now the argument, the debate hasn't come up for a wee while now, but you know it will again. You know, when folks start slaughtering Hampden and you're miles away from the goals if you're stuck behind the goals and it's not got the infrastructure and there's traffic issues. But I tend to think that the only thing that's ever let Hampden down has been the team, because when the team's not been performing, the fans then obviously haven't been coming out to pack the stadium out, and it has seemed not the ideal venue, you know, because you know what it's like at Tynecastle. terrible cliche it is now talking about the atmosphere there, but you know, they get 15, 16,000 there and it's absolutely buzzing. You do need the crowd at Hampden, and I think when the place is rammed, I can't think of anywhere else I would like to see Scotland playing. Simple as that.
Yeah. Okay. I did mention to you 2 negatives.
I didn't hear one.
No.
The first one.
The first negative was Nathan Patterson, losing him. That was
Right. Okay.
And the other one, as we always mention to people, to try and hit the subscribe button on PLZ Soccer, because we deal with every issue we possibly can. I would apologise to some of the sensible thinking people who come on the feed, because every now and then, Tam, you know, I have to act as a police officer and try and remind people to conduct themselves.
Frank Cannon.
Yes. Thanks, Doberman. But the fact is, you've got to offer a modicum of decency. So my apologies to people. Do not worry about the lunatics who try and browbeat the opinion on our feed and become really abusive about it. We try and ban a lot of them, and we know we get to various stages where we discuss everything we possibly can on this show. So don't worry about people. We don't care about people caning us. We're big enough and man enough. But if there's anybody who's abusive on there and goes down a road which is racist or sectarian,
Have they moved on to the minute's applause?
we do ban them. This is where we're going now, which is the negative one, which again, Tam,
Right.
I'm not going to mince my words on it. It was poor. But the point is, it's a situation where people booed in the minute's applause.
Yeah.
And by the way, all over the weekend, you've listened to various pundits.
Yes.
You know, giving it back. I'm not getting into a broadcast war because I have no time for it. But everybody's had their say, from news journalists a lot, about Celtic's conduct, Hibs' conduct. There was another club. What was the other one?
Dundee United.
Dundee United, on the conduct of the criticism of the clapping that was going on. So quite simply,
it results in the biggest game of whataboutery ever. Because the minute somebody comes out, let's name names here. Graham Souness and Ali McCoist were quite vocal about it, and the minute the two of them came out as Rangers men, then they get flamed, and folk were posting clips of Souness when he was in the dressing room at Ibrox and all that, and then having a go at Ali, news clips of him talking about Donald Finlay back. I mean, how long ago was that now, you know? Yeah. So you're always going to get that. Personally, I think a lot of it's down to the individual. It's about how you were brought up. I was personally brought up not to disrespect the dead, and certainly know when they're 96 years old. But I mean, I'll give you an example, Peter. When we had the minute's applause at Fir Park on Sunday there, the game against Hearts, and I don't think a minute's applause is fitting for somebody. That's more when you're celebrating, somebody, a goal scorer or something. And I actually just remained silent. I didn't applaud. That was the way I paid my tribute at Fir Park when I was standing with my wee girl who had taken for the first game, and that was it. So it's up to the individual, but I certainly wouldn't get involved in a debate about it, an argument with it, and because what it ultimately always comes back to, folk will always throw the two words at you can't beat: free speech. And I've always been a great advocate of that, of free speech, So I'm certainly not going to tell anybody what they should or shouldn't do, but you would just hope folk would have a wee bit of respect, a wee bit of sensibility. An example, can I give you another wee example? We seem to be mentioning every local bar and all the rest of it. There are ways of doing these things, because we were having a wee reminisce about it at the game on Sunday. When we used to go to the Fir Park Social Club, it's now Club 100, directly opposite the Cooper stand at Fir Park. We used to get in there back in the day, and it was a very well-run, well-maintained social club. You had a big guy called Ray Jensen who did the MCing when the bands and that were on, right? And then at the end of the night, it being a social club, Ray would always announce that, we're now going to finish with God Save the Queen.
Yes.
And before you know it, my big pal Ian, who was on the drums in the band Misty Blue, who you must have heard from time to time in your youth, Peter, he just started for the start of God Save the Queen, as was, okay. But before that, Ray just said very, very politely, very quickly, if anybody doesn't want to stand up for the Queen, would you please leave the hall? And everybody didn't, for whatever reason it may have been. They went into the wee bar, they went to the loo, they went to the fag machine.
Taken outside,
and that was it. It didn't, it didn't, but it didn't cause any major rumpus. And you know, I can't get worked up about it. I think all that stuff is down to the individual, and certainly the way, I don't care whether it is really applause or silence or whatever, you would just try to be respectful and then say, you know what, give it 60 seconds, then we're going to watch the game, and that's what we're here for.
Well, that's good, because at least you've given your opinion on it. I mean, I know that you don't want to get worked up about it, but we'll offer our opinion on it. And then we've said ad nauseum on this programme, Ruffy, I have no problem with people on the democracy. You know, I think everybody's got that right. And again, some people would probably get slightly angered. I mean, you said you didn't applaud, you just went silent. I know people that could flip that and say, Tam Cowan, you know, they go on social media. I've had this particular problem. Tam Cowan didn't applaud the Queen. He stayed silent. You could flip it any way you want, absolutely. You know. And I had that one day in a situation which I dealt with quickly to nip it in the bud. But Ruffy,
you know what, Peter, see in this day and age, aware of, even where we stand at the football, we're just above the dugouts, and before they then go behind the goals and stuff, you get photographers and everything. I remember about, must be 40 seconds into that, when I just was remaining silent, I then started clapping my hands. I says, it only takes in this world in which we now live for somebody to say, oh, there's Cowan, we'll get his mug with a wee photo or the camera or something, you know, and then the next minute you're absolutely flamed. But I think there's a difference. If folk we're doing a minute's applause and they don't want to applaud, then just stand, and that's it. If there's a minute's silence and you don't want to respect that, make yourself scarce. Go to the food kiosk, go to the toilets, but there's that, and then you jump a level where folk then want to do chants or want to go to the bother and make up banners.
Yes.
You know, and their mammies would be horrified.
Well, Ruffy, I'll offer you my opinion on it. I think the flip side of this, the way society is, I think a lot of clubs and a lot of people have meetings and they've turned around and said, listen, we'll need to have a minute's applause because we know what's coming. I mean, there's definitely that. I mean, the SFA will have sat down and said, listen, you know, there's going to be a divide here on this, and there will be people who are just not happy with the monarchy, which is perfectly everybody's right to offer their opinion on it. But so they would have said applause. And then people who wanted to boo, I don't know, I'm with Tam on this. I was brought up to respect people who have died. Certainly there is a situation where there are some people who have got a real grievance against the royal family, but was that the right place to do it? I would suggest to you that for me, if it was me and it was an applause, I would have applauded. End of story. I've like you, McDonald mentioned the other day, that I've met the Queen through St Margaret of Scotland Hospice. I thought she was a lovely woman. Do I believe in, you know, funding royal families? No. Do I believe in do I believe in rolling up to a chapel and funding popes? No.
You barely believe in funding us on this.
That's me. That's just my whole opinion on things. But I respect the right for some people who have died, and you look at their family and they've lost a mum and a grandma, and I'm saying, and a sister or a brother. I'm thinking, no, I'm staying silent, and if I have to applaud, I'll applaud. And if somebody says to me at the end of a night, like the Motherwell Club, and I've had this a million times, people stand up for the Queen, that's fine, you know, because at the end of the day, there's a certain amount of respect that I think you have to show. If some people think, no, wait a minute, our attitude is in a democracy, and the things that we don't like, and remember, by when I would highlight this, Ruffy, in Ireland, there is a totally different perspective to Britain. And I think we also have to kind of respect that without going down, it was a football show. But there's a different perspective. So you have to understand, some people feel really that they want to use football as a platform to say, no, we don't agree with the Queen, we're not going to applaud, we might boo.
You know what is great,
just a
Peter,
personal
though,
opinion
as you
from-
say, it is a football show. If folk want to use football as a platform for football issues, then it's absolutely brilliant, because amidst all the talk on the one and only subject that folk have been yapping on about with banners and that, and whether they were for or against, the Motherwell fans at half-time in the Hearts game on Sunday brought out their own banners, and that was basically a nice, succinct message, which was applauded by fans around the ground, about the 6:15 p.m. kick-off in the forthcoming Motherwell Celtic quarter-final in the Premier Sports Cup. You know, and that is precisely, in my opinion, the sort of thing that fans should protest about, you know, and they did it very well. It was captured on camera, and it is a ridiculous situation. I felt sorry for Main Club there, because obviously there's been this, the way it's worked, a quirk, a strange anomaly with the timings, with the fixtures, with the night of the week, whatever it is, but you've suddenly got this double header, which, alright, the old armchair fans have won a watch perhaps, you know, but we've always got to think of folk clicking through the turnstiles. But you've got Motherwell Celtic at 6:15, and then you've got Rangers Dundee at 8 o'clock, right? Now, first and foremost, I would say, you know, at least they got them the right way around, because if you take Celtic fans as coming from Glasgow, Motherwell fans Motherwell, Rangers fans Glasgow, the Dundee fans, you at least had to give them a chance to get down to Ibrox for that game, so they did it the right way around. But it's still a nonsense to be asking folk. I mean, do you not think people work or anything like that? Are they really wanting folk travelling to Motherwell Celtic to get caught up in the worst of the commuter traffic and all the rest of it? It's absolute rush hour. So it's stuff like that I think the power of fans voicing their concerns, and the power of a right good banner. I would salute the young well boys with that one.
Yeah, lots of people have had their say on it, too many to mention. Gary Hawthorne says people are annoyed, and rightly so. Football fans should not be in that position. We already cancelled a full weekend of football. Gary says, I wouldn't have booed, but I definitely wouldn't have clapped either.
I think Tam summed it up. It's what's your upbringing, you know, what you've been taught by your parents, you know, to respect a death in anybody's family, you know, and I'm not into royalty or anything like that, but this was a person who died, and I think you should respect them.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't want to turn it around to all the people who, I mentioned it to you, the people that were booing and that, they should turn it around on themselves and say if it was their mum that had died and somebody was booing them, how would they feel?
Yeah.
I know it's a
slightly more complex issue, which thankfully this programme doesn't have to delve into. But we've offered our tuppence worth, and what we would have done. That's not to suggest categorically that everybody who offered their tuppence worth is bang out of order. It's up to yourself, the way you were brought up, or if you think you've got a legitimate reason for complaint, fine. We're just telling you what
the worst tribute of the weekend there, and one that I felt genuinely complaining about. They managed to put up very kindly at Motherwell a wee message at half time from a wee lassie going to her first game.
Yeah.
And it came up, and a warm welcome to 11-year-old Sophie Cowan, who's here for her very first game at Fir Park this afternoon.
Yes, somebody told me the spelling mistake. Not that it mattered, but did she enjoy it?
She had an absolute ball. For MD that's been swithering, and kids of their own, they're thinking should or shouldn't have take them to the football for whatever reason. Are they too young now? Are they really into football? Just the whole experience. She was absolutely going like a battery all the way out to Fir Park. She could not wait. And there's that thing that I had today. It's quite a cliched wee bit of video. You have to do it when they're walking up the last lot of steps.
Oh yeah.
Before they go into the opening of the stadium, and I did that, and she was like mesmerised. You know, it was great. And then she loved every minute of the game. It was great, and we get pumped 3-0. And I'm thinking, what would it have been like if we'd have won? She'd have been gone absolutely crazy.
It's amazing how, as I said to the boys, amazing how our lives are in parallel, Tam, because obviously my daughter, she went to her first Champions League game.
Oh, right.
Celtic Real Madrid.
Right.
Obviously, I couldn't take her. I'm in the press box, and obviously I wouldn't be waltzing into the Celtic end for fear of repercussions.
Yes.
But nevertheless, she goes there and obviously battered as well, 3-0. And I thought to myself, there's Tam, but she had a great time, thoroughly enjoyed it.
You know what, as well, she's only 11, but I thought, aye, good on you. She started, apart from, I told you earlier a couple of shouts that obviously she was hearing round about her, that she was saying to me, can I swear? Can I swear? And I says, no. Because there was a lot of folk shouting at the ref. There was a fair bit of time wasting going on with Hearts. There was folk shouting down to Robbie Nielsen, etc. But as I say, I'm quite proud of the fact that the one shout that she did let rip with, she leaned down at one point, she says, referee, you're abject. Great. Another one that I'd stuck in the paper today, she said, which was great. I thought, the innocence of youth, because we were sitting there and game was about to start, and she was having a wee look about, so she could see all the Hearts fans doing the south stand, and then obviously there are 3 stands. It was Motherwell fans, and she says, Dad, why are all the supporters sitting apart? She says, is it in case they have an argument? and I went, if you'd have seen some of the arguments that Motherwell and Hearts fans had back in the 80s, they'd have loved that. But no, the whole experience was great, and that's her. I think she might be hooked. I think it's the old, we're hoping Santa Claus might bring the season ticket now,
Season ticket?
Aye.
We're going to Tynecastle next week. She'll want the Hearts strap.
As I tell her the way out though, she was so excited she didn't even want in for the food kiosk.
All right, that's
and
good.
I says, no, that was a flaw. I says, if you'd had a pie, wee chance as well of a week after school. But that's an experience for you.
Absolutely. I still think there's a real joy on kids going to the football, the next generation, to actually just love the fact of the excitement of it all, Ruffy. There's nothing better when you're a kid. I know you didn't experience it, so I'll explain it to you what it is. There's nothing better as a kid when you go to a game with your mates. Sometimes it doesn't go according to plan, but just a goal goes in and you're jumping all over each other's heads and having a right good
I can
laugh.
imagine.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And the disappointments, how do you handle that?
The disappointments, I don't. You just
Go outside the stadium and weigh into some Iranians or Peruvians. Right?
I don't know about you, but I think sometimes, Tam. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We used to travel up to Pittodrie. Aberdeen used to batter.
Yeah.
You get battered up there. You were lucky to get a point. You're going down to the well. They used to
family getting chased with the casuals.
They used to stick you into the paddock end, which was mental because you had to walk past all the Aberdeen fans. But the amount of times you'd got there and Fergie's team would just give you a doing.
Yes.
But it was still a great trip, wasn't it, Tam?
It was brilliant. It was great.
Fantastic.
That's the thing whenever he says to me, as much as I enjoy, like my Saturdays for nearly 29 years now, have been dominated by doing the radio, but if it finished tomorrow, the one thing that I would actually like about it is suddenly being able to go with my pals to the away games on a Saturday and take a wee burl up to Aberdeen and up to Dundee and wherever, and in fact, when the games were put off the weekend before last, and this is great, Motherwell were due up at Dingwall, and now the game's been rescheduled near the start of October for a Tuesday night, so that's suddenly a game that I can go to. Be great. Maybe even make a wee night in it or whatever.
Listen, 2 or 3 other little points I want to get onto before we finish, because we're obviously great about Scotland. We're going to talk about St Mirren, the ticket allocation. Jim Goodwin, obviously the news coming out about him. Dundee United,
I've not heard this.
as well as some things that I think fans are going to have to bear in mind. What's happening down in England coming up shortly, which will have repercussions up here, I'm sure. A little distasteful one, but I think Kyle Lafferty, Kilmarnock have launched an investigation into alleged sectarian comments made by Kyle Lafferty. I think the club have come out quite strongly about this. If you're in a pub, Ruffy, and suddenly somebody comes up and says something and then you retort with something, especially now when everybody's being filmed, he could find himself in really sticky water for it if he's found guilty by the club for the sectarian comments that he is alleged to have made.
Yeah, I think most clubs now, pre-season, get their players together and they warn them against these kind of things, though. I think there's a lot of clubs that really, it's usually the younger players watch what you're doing on your phone, for a start. But he's an experienced player. He's been about, he knows what it's about, and if anything comes his way, and as you say, if he is found guilty, he deserves everything he gets.
Yeah, okay. So on that point, next one, Jim Goodwin.
What's happened?
Well, Jim Goodwin, it's a stonewall certainty. He's been charged by
the
disciplinary panel
Porteous.
for the Ryan Porteous. It was a stonewall certainty from Jim. He knew what he was doing. I think it was one of those ones he thought, I've got a spare 500 quid, let's just go for it and belt this guy.
Say my piece. Yeah. Because he didn't miss Ryan Porteous. And there was a great newspaper photograph I saw at the end of the game where Jim is still absolutely fizzing. Of course, they get beat 3-1, and Ryan Porteous, he's clearly already had it all ends up for Jim, and he's just looking at him and kind of laughing, because ultimately he did have the last laugh. It was 3-1, So my bit of Ryan Porteous saying, you know what, it's what a half a duck's back for me. I've heard folks slate me before for this, that and the other thing.
Yeah.
I know that Tam McManus has come out and said that Ryan Porteous is not a cheat, and he's and I'm sure Tam's.
Did you see the incident though?
Yeah,
I think Jim's. I love Jim. I think he's a.
It wasn't one of the. The little phrase are coming together, kind of. They had all that, and maybe made the most of it.
Yeah.
All that part of it. But you know what? I wonder if it was something that had happened maybe previously, because when Jim Goodwin even said that he had as good as forewarned the match officials about Ryan Porteous, and I think that's maybe that must have been part of the charge. I would imagine, managers going up to referees before the game and saying, by the way, I want you to keep an eye on him, because
Well, I mean, Ryan Porteous' family are a lovely family. He likes a noise up from time to time. Maybe his reputation. There's a lot of people in the West can't stand him, by the way. I mean, the Rangers fans just hate him.
He had a couple of bad tackles, didn't he?
Yeah.
A couple of outrageous tackles. Jim, obviously, this must be a personal thing that he's remembered something, that he's done. But to come out and say, oh, look, he's at it all the time. I personally can't remember any times he was diving about a penalty box. He has an odd wayward tackle or a wee dig or whatever, but he's one of these players that a lot of teams have got. Somebody that everybody loves to hate.
That might have been a classic example, Peter, and you, because you've been there with a mic in your hand after games, putting it under people's noses. There's been an argument for long enough that maybe after a game, managers should go and do all their other stuff first and have their wee chat in the office and a can of beer with a fellow manager, and then do the post-match interviews, by which time they've calmed down a wee bit, because I think Jim, he was obviously a very fiery character on the pitch, and you could even argue when, you could maybe argue that Jim's got a bit of a cheek, even having a go at people's conduct on the pitch, and I think he was, many times did he get sent off for the old elbow,
At the tail end of his career as well, yeah.
So, he was an angel himself, but he's a manager now. He wants to speak out on behalf of his team, which the fans will love, but I think there was a mixture of Ryan Porteous had obviously upped him, and then the sting in the tail was the fact that they get beat 3-1, and then it just flowed. And that was that.
Absolutely. This is an interesting one.
What have they done though? Is it? It's just been a charge. He's not actually
coming
been
up in October.
Clobbered yet.
So the clobbering is still to come. Tam will probably want to talk about this, but I'll get your thoughts first on this, Robbie, because obviously, if you win the championship and come back up to the Premier League, I think I know which way Thistle would go on this one, but St Mirren chairman John Needham thinks that limiting the Celtic fans just to one stand was to their advantage in the win at the weekend, because he's obviously asked the Saints fans to look, we're not going to give the big allocation to the Celtic or Rangers, we're going to make sure that the St Mirren fans are in there. There was about 6,300 all in the game, so he wanted the place to be full of St Mirren fans, rather than 2-3 ends of Celtic and Rangers fans just willing them on. He feels vindicated, and he wants the supporters to show their support for that move. Do you think other clubs will fill that?
Was there 6,000 at the game of a 10,000 stadium? Could they have filled it?
No, it's not 10,000. Well, the last time, the stats that matter here are the last time the same fixture, it was something like 6,900 and it dropped to 6,300. So they said the difference was 600, but they reckon it was absolutely worth their while. Now, I don't know if even, because it was only one stand for a visiting fan rather than two, did that immediately then reduce the costs of stewarding or policing or whatever? But me as a fan, I just think first and foremost, that's what I took out of the gentleman's stuff in the paper this morning, was that, because I've seen it at Fir Park back. I mean, back in the day, wow, when you would get a wee sliver of the east stand when it was the perimeter fence in the middle.
Yeah.
And if it was Motherwell playing Rangers or Celtic, they came to Fir Park. You'd get that wee back there, and then it was Rangers and Celtic fans all the way around. And it was really only Motherwell fans up in the main stand, you know. So it does give them, it must give them a great advantage. And, you know, it's bad enough if I think Fir Park's choking at the seams.
What are you
with
guys
Celtic
doing
and
now?
Rangers. Well, they get the south stand.
That's
They
it.
get the south stand, yeah, that's it.
And then it's down to Motherwell to make him. And I think St Mirren,
Absolutely.
I think he's perfectly within his rights to do this,
Yeah, absolutely.
because it's a business decision.
Absolutely. Another thing is, Peter, for the minute that Celtic or Rangers emerge for the tunnel, wow, as you well know that away fans are always noisier than these same guys would be at a home game. You know, there's that camaraderie when an away game.
Have you moved your position on it though? The only reason I'm
No.
asking you is because I've looked at it and I've thought to myself, well, if you want to make that call and you want to lose a considerable amount of money, because if you can't fill your stadium and the fans you don't want the Celtic or Rangers fans there, then I was thinking to myself, you know, is that really what you want to do? But now I'm kind of shifting a wee bit on the basis of saying, well, it's a business. You run it your way. It's your club. If you want the majority of fans to be there and they support you, but then sometimes they don't, you've made the call.
Well, before I've got anything through the archives and accuse me of hypocrisy, you're right, there have been times in the past where I've said, and to an extent I would still say it, I'm interested about Motherwell, my team, getting as much money as they can coming through the gates, right? And in my heart of hearts, if I was asked to move by the club, and if it had gone to a fan's vote, which I would absolutely hope so, and imagine would happen at a fan-owned club, and they said you'll need to sit in the Cooper stand behind the goals, need to move you at the main stand because we're going to make a lot of money by putting fans in there. I'm guessing I would grudgingly go for it if I thought my club was getting the money. But fans, by and large, don't like that. And as I was about to say, when you get Rangers or Celtic, Peter, emerging for the tunnel, and they run towards that big two-tier south stand, you know, they nearly take the roof off it as Celtic Rangers fans. So why have that done the other end as well, which is almost certainly where they would go, and you would move the families and that out of the Cooper stand up into the main stand, I would imagine.
So you're all for it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely all for it. And I think your man, John Needham, made all the right noises about it. He put the focus on the support. And remind me what the score was again.
Yeah, absolutely.
It worked.
Well, I think Brian, one of our regulars on here, says there could have been 30,000 Celtic fans there. They still wouldn't have beaten St Mirren. Which I think is a good point. Having sat in that press box, they didn't look as if they were capable on the day. You have days like that, and quite simply, you know, I thought it was a great day for Stephen Robinson, who a few months before it, people were questioning him. I thought it was a great day for him. His team absolutely battled. And then, of course, Ange Postecoglou came in, didn't offer any excuses. Quick couple of points, which I think is absolutely vital. And one of them is Dundee United set to name Liam Fox as the manager, with Steve Crawford as the assistant. What do you make of that?
Yeah, we thought that would be the case. He's somebody who's been there for a long time. He knows the players inside out. You know, he has looked reasonable in his formation against Rangers last week. It looks as if the players want to play for them, for him. I think that's the main thing. But it's an appointment within, and it's something we're seeing more and more often.
Yep, okay.
And for the minute Duncan Ferguson wasn't going to happen, which would have really, we would all have loved that, you know. So the minute, you know, sadly, that became unrealistic then, good luck to the guy.
Scottish football fan, just briefly, Tam, on this for you two guys. The Premier League in England has just basically said pitch invaders and anyone using pyrotechnics in the football grounds from next season, basically, they're going to be enforcing a year-long ban on fans invading the field of play or letting off these devices. I think we will follow suit with that.
Yeah, well, we do follow suit with a lot of the stuff that happens down in England, even the way we name our leagues, etc., which always seem to be a bit farcical. But yeah, that's the way. If fans know, you know, because, you know, how many times do you hear the vast majority support at a game now, Peter, when something like that happens and a fan run on the pitch, right? They get booed.
Yeah,
well,
they're
you know, and particularly if you're holding up the game, and particularly if you're chasing the game.
Yeah.
And then when you get scenes, other stuff getting thrown on, if it is the pyrotechnics and all that, which could be very, very dangerous, If the fans knew who were likely to do that, you know what? It's just a simple 1 year ban. Do I really want to be away from here for a year when it's a huge part of my life, such a big part of my life that I'm going to the bother of running on the park, such a big part of my life that I'm ordering fireworks online to sneak into a ground. So I think that might wipe it out.
You all for it?
Yeah, at least you can identify them if they come on the park.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They keep their plays on with the data.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing,
Streaking there's a thing in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't ask them one of them.
Listen,
Scottish football.
Another thing I was going to say to you guys, and it is, we started off, and this is the problem with this programme, Ruffy.
What's that?
We started off too positively,
smiling.
and we were raving about Scotland. We were talking about all these things, and then there was just that wee bit in the programme where it descended into madness. So for all of those people, thank you for your opinions, right and left, whatever you put forward, as long as you put it through in a decent way on the feed, then we are more than happy. As you'll probably realise, more and more people are subscribing to us, more and more people are watching the show, and we thank you for that. Some are not watching it live, some wait, depending on their work patterns and when they can watch it, put it up on their big screen. Some people download it on the app, but the one thing you'll get opinions from Tam, Ruffy and myself and all the panel, and you'll also, thankfully, you'll get the chance to watch it absolutely free. Tell your mates, hit the subscribe button. Thank you to all of you for your opinions on this, and over the course of the next couple of weeks, we've got some great things to give away. Ruffy, I have to say, thankfully, has brought in the gloves that he used when Zico bent the ball round.
Absolutely. A mark on them.
Minted condition.
Exactly. So touched the ball.
Ruffy's going to sign them, and we're going to give them away. We're going to give away a Rangers top from last year with the UEFA Cup, or Europa League final, I beg your pardon, programme that I managed to get a hold of, and I think Rangers fans would like that. And we've got lots of other great little things, including a Jota painting. Yeah, Ruffy.
Saying that, but I've seen some of these paintings. He's terrible.
I can't do anything with it.
Is that a bowl of fruit or that? What's he done?
It's an apple.
Right.
But nevertheless, still worthy of your consideration. The competition's coming up. Thanks to every one of you for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. From Tam, from Ruffy, and from myself, Peter Martin. Thanks for watching.